Hey everybody, Danny Maude here. Thanks for joining us. Did you know that your downswing just takes about half a second to complete? What's half a second? That's half a second. That's not enough time, is it, to start to make loads of changes in that downswing to hit good shots, which places a major emphasis on your backswing. You need to make sure that when you move that club away and you take it in the backswing, it is in a great slot so that your downswing can basically free flow, right? The problem is, if you get out of position early or get out of position in your backswing, you haven't got a lot of time to kind of make that up. And when you try, this is when you get into problems. This is when you get into poor ball striking, poor direction, loss of distance, you name it. So in this week's training, I'm going to share it with you one of the major faults, one of the biggest faults I see that ruins so many golf swings. And it starts actually in your takeaway. We're going to fix that problem in the takeaway. You get the takeaway right, and then what we're going to show you is exactly what you do from the takeaway, moving into the backswing. Because if you can nail this position here, you don't have to make too many compensations in the downswing. You improve your overall consistency. Before I get into the video, look, if you're new to the channel, it's one of the first videos of mine, please consider subscribing. Just press that little bell button, next subscribe button, you get notified every time I release a video just like this one. Plus, I always put a free downloadable practice plan in the description box below, so you'll never have to remember a thing. Okay, great. So by the end of this video, I want to get you into a position in your backswing here that is going to allow you to become much more consistent in your approach to the ball. So you just generally hit much more consistent shots. So in order to do that, we're going to do three things. We're going to first of all show you exactly how the club works up and down consistently and how you can do that, how you can feel that, how the body complements that. Stay tuned as well for number 3, which is basically how you can really enhance the feel of this, all right? So first things first, in the takeaway, what I want you to be able to do here is, you see with any top player, they have a wonderful coordinated motion away where the body and the arms are all beautifully working away together here. What they're not doing is they're not independently working. Well, look at this, my hands here work independently of my body, my arms are working independently of my body. That's not what we want. We want a coordinated motion away. All right, that coordinated motion continues all the way to the top of the swing. Question is, how can you go about starting that? Well, the first thing I want you to do is this. Set up to the ball just for a second like this, right? Split your hands and then literally do this. Put them up like this, okay? Trail arm is pointing directly towards you. Now take your lead hand off the club. Now all I'm going to do now is this. I want you now to start to make a move, okay, into your backswing where you're going to imagine that you're going to put your thumb in your ear, okay, or the club down the target line, and look, the butt end right down towards your target. That's all you're going to do. Simply this. Now, as you're doing this, you might, depending on your flexibility, you might start to feel some kind of aches and pains and whatever. You go to your flexible limit. But what I'm doing here is I'm simply training the way the club moves. Now, what you can also do here, and I'm going to give a bit of a shout out to my friends Andy and Pierce at Me and My Golf here, and their great video with Falder, is as you're doing this motion, as you move back, I want you to imagine the butt end here pointing in between your target line and your foot line, somewhere in between. Most golfers, the biggest mistake they're making is this: they're working around too much. Their shoulder works around, their hands work around, their arms work around. They don't work up. And I want you to feel what this club is doing here as it's naturally working up to the top. So that's your checkpoint, butt's pointing in between foot and ball, and then simply point club towards target. Simple as that. Just develop that simple sensation. It is not this, by the way, which one of my students did recently. You see a difference? Pulling the club back here. Where's the butt pointing? Down there. Point it towards the camera or away from you, club down the target line, right? Now, that's the easy bit. The tricky bit is when, if you look at this lead side, this is the biggest killer. What stops happening is this: when you put your left hand on, or my lead hand on here, is this. When I do this, most people can't reach. So what they block this lead side, just doesn't really move. And the problem now is this: if I put my left hand on now, okay, and I don't move this left side, I can't I can get to maybe that ball position, but I can't get any further. So that's when I start to make compensations. That's when I might just lift my arms up. I might roll my wrists around, but I start to become uncoordinated simply because this lead side becomes blocked. So step 2 now is to show you how you can naturally unblock this lead side so you can start to create a much more coordinated motion. So step 2 is this. If you can, stop the video, get yourself set, and what I want you to do is this: put your arms by your side. We're going to feel exactly how the body works in the backswing. So there is natural extension of the trail side and inflection of the lead side. Simply this, just feel this backwards and forwards. Okay, this is your backswing. Flexion here, extension here. Most problems occur because what you're doing is this: you are moving your body around and around. There is no flexion or extension, it's just doing this. And this causes all of this, the roundness, okay? And then when this works around, you might then try to put the club in position, but you're now artificially doing it. We don't want that. We want it to be a coordinated motion away. So to support this, what I want you to do is get yourself set. Now we're going to get the flexion here and extension, but now work around. So we're going to put the arm towards here. Now we've got extension and a bit of rotation all in one. This is now, look, can you see how now, look, this lead shoulder is unblocked and it's starting to work around. I can now reach quite a long way towards you now. Why? Because I'm under. Now notice this, I haven't reached over to there. This would be staying level. I've reached under. Why? Because this is inflection, this is extension. There. Now you've got that sensation. I'd spend some time with that as well, by the way, just feeling how this body works back and through. Now you've got the motion. Look at this now. What we're going to do, we're going to do the exercise again. Put that into position here, put that into position here, but now watch. I'm going to extend and flex. Now it's a lot easier for me to get around. Look, there we go. Makes sense. Now what we do, go to split hand again for a second. Now what we're going to do as we move to this ball here, I want you to imagine now you're going to simply extend. Extend. As this butt points here, extend that motion. 1. Now we're joining those two things together. Extend. Extend. And as we keep going up, 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 we keep extending. Now it's pointing towards you. Now we're talking, now we're starting, now we can join the hands together. Same principle, we're going to point the butt to here, but as we do this, we're going to extend that body. As the club look works upwards. Look how natural it also keeps you very steady. The body is rotating, yes, but it's not rotating. Look, if I rotate here and stay level, I work off the ball. Now look, I'm pointing the butt towards there. I'm really working it up. From here, all we're going to do in the downswing is reverse that process where ultimately here, look, the trail side will start to flex, the lead side will start to naturally extend, and that's how we then release the ball, staying nice and level here. We're not turning through, staying level here. This is what I see with a lot of people who slice. If you slice, this is really normal. Fire it through. I've got some detailed videos on the downswing sequence up in this top right hand corner, so go and check that out after this video. Now, we want to hit some balls first. Before we move on to step 3, we want to start hitting a few shots. So what I want to do now is just start to add some flow to this. So we'll make some swings and see if you start forward first, just get some momentum. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into this point in the butt at that middle ball here whilst we flow into extension. And notice I'm not trying to complete my swing at this stage. I'm trying to feel this takeaway motion backwards and forwards. And look how coordinated that is. Without the extension, and my arms now are starting to take over. With the extension here, I help to coordinate the body and the arms beautifully with the club. Let's hit a few shots just doing that. So, point it, away we go. Nice strike. Okay, so once you've done that, then what we want to do is start to simply extend it from here to making a fuller swing. Now a fuller swing, have a look at this. The butt is pointing towards you and the club is pointing towards the target. This is where you now, everything is wound up, coordinated. It's in a very powerful, consistent position. But this is where you may go wrong. This bit is lovely. It's fairly easy to get to once you get the habit. Here is where it requires a bit more stretch. There's going to be a limit to maybe your flexibility, so we've got to figure out where that is. But notice this, when people get to here, then what they do is they start to cheat. This starts to stop, this then stops, the arms start to take over. they start to spread like this, move around. Where's the butt pointing? It's not pointing towards you anymore, is it? Where's the club pointing? Over there somewhere, yeah? It starts to move all around because suddenly the arms start to get very disconnected. Why? Because this is locked somewhere. So, exercise here. Once you're here, just pull on this shaft a little bit here, pull it towards the target so you can feel it. You can see this. That is pulling me around. It's continuing to pull me around and upwards. Keep the extension going up. Then you can find wherever your flexible limit is going to be, right? Once you've done that, then hit a few shots, but just stay tuned, because if you're still struggling, there may be one other thing, and I'm going to give you the H drill just to kind of unlock something else. But from here, I would again, same again, just find the rhythm into your backswing, find that motion as far as you can, and then away we go. Okay, simple as that. Now, second phase. So if you are still struggling to really get this complete, if you're really struggling to get around, one, it's going to be flexibility, but this is probably the final piece of the jigsaw. If this is working great, but this isn't, it's usually because your feet here are very planted. They're not really allowing to move. And what I mean by that is this. With all freedom of motion, when you make a backswing, the pressure goes to the front part of your lead foot, the heel of your trail foot here. This is what's going to help you to get around, right, and up. Too often I'm seeing these feet almost staying quite even here, and they're almost rigid, staying fixed. That locks your knees, locks your legs, and it's impossible to move. So one thing you can do is simple exercise to start off with this. Take a alignment stick or a golf club, doesn't really matter. Put it on the ground, okay? Simply put your feet, so your toes, front part of your foot's at one end, your heels at the other end. And all you're gonna do from here is do the exercise now. And what you're gonna do is that simple stick just simply is gonna give you some awareness as to where your weight is relative to the front and back part of both feet. You should be at the top here. You should find that your weight is in the inside of your heel and the front part of your lead foot here. That means you're unlocking the lower body. If you find that actually it's still fairly even across both feet, you know that it's locked. It's just a simple feedback station. Great exercise, and you can certainly hit shots like that. My recent student, Paul, I got him to kind of, he couldn't feel it. He was almost, when he got to the top of his swing, the heel was actually off the ground. That really restricted his motion. He was unaware of it. We put this in place. He got some level of feedback here as to go, there we go. And that then unlocked this section and now allowed him to again make a much more coordinated backswing and therefore more consistent shots. To really enhance it, you move to make it the H exercise or the H drill. Simply put 2 alignment sticks. Again, golf clubs will be absolutely fine. And all this does here is really enhance your feel even more. If you imagine your foot here, all we've done is divided it across so you can feel front and back. And now we've divided down the middle so you can even feel the quadrants. Again, why is this important? Because the foot doesn't just move front and back. There's also a spiral here. So from here, look, I'm simply now I can feel the weight going to the inside of my lead foot and the inside here of my trail foot. This is just, again, just a simple feedback station, backwards and forwards, really sensing that motion. That's all it's about. I've mentioned the twisting of the discs in many of my videos where I talk about turning the discs here. That simple feedback station just gives you the feel, are you actually doing it? A lot of people, when they're trying here, they're turning like this, they're not turning like this, okay, and this all gives you that great feedback. So let's summarize. If you need to get, or you're struggling with consistency most of the time because the downswing just takes half a second, it's usually because you're in the wrong place at the top of the backswing. To get into the right place, take your trail arm here, just practice sticking the club towards the target, backwards and forwards, butt towards camera here, backwards and forwards, nothing more complicated than that. Then all we're gonna do is this. Here, look, we're gonna put a ball in line, in between foot line, point it at that line here. Then complement it with the body. If you're struggling with this, it's because often this lead side is blocked. Complement it with the body, unlock the body here. How? Extension and flexion, that's all it is. This then allows the body to complement this motion, helps this lead arm get around here, backwards and forwards. Now the body can work with this trail arm as a poster look. Can't work if you don't move it. Now with extension and flexion, you can, and it's as simple as that. Start small, gradually build it up, and then use maybe the H drill again for extra feedback if you're really sometimes struggling to feel what's going on in the ground. So super simple, find some rhythm, hit a few shots. If you enjoyed the video, give it a little thumbs up. And of course, look, if you're new to the channel, press that subscribe button and the bell. But remember, there's a free downloadable practice plan in the description box below, so you never have to remember a thing. Until next week, have a great golfing week.